Is low back pain impacting your golf swing, or even worse, keeping you off the course completely? Here's a fix that you probably haven't thought of: your hip mobility. Stick with me to see just how unlocking your hips can unlock the keys to swinging faster, playing better, and doing it all without pain. In this video, we're going to cover the 3 most common swing faults caused by poor hip mobility and the 2 simple, immediate exercises that you can do today to improve that hip mobility, get rid of your back pain, and on average, we see golfers gaining at least 10 yards in the first 10 weeks when they implement these strategies. I'm Chris, the founder and CEO at P4S Golf, where we help golfers move, feel, and play better. And did you know that hip mobility is not something that you're suffering from alone? In fact, it is the most common physical limitation that golfers feel all over the world. The first swing fault that we're going to talk about is excessive sway. Now, there is also a term called slide. They're actually one and the same. It just depends on which side you're doing it towards. So as you take your club back in your backswing, you should rotate into your trail side. If instead you don't have good hip mobility and you sway over, imagine a line right on my hip. If you sway through that line as you take the club back, that is going to pull you off of center. As you come down through the golf ball, if you don't rotate into your hip because you have bad hip mobility, you may sway the other way, which is called sliding. So you will slide through the golf ball excessively, and it will, because you're not able to rotate, causes tons of issues when it comes to bottom of swing contact, ball striking, a whole array of issues. So, and the reason that this is happening is because your hips don't internally rotate. So as you take the club back to your trail side, you're internally rotating into your trail side. So your right hip for a right-handed player, your left hip for a left-handed player. And as you come through impact, you're internally rotating into your lead side. Your left hip for a right-handed player and your right hip for a left-handed player. Now over time, if your hips are not rotating, this leads to compensation in other areas of the body. Your shoulders, your trunk, and ultimately the friendly neighbor, the low back, who tries to help out until eventually it can't do it anymore, leading to your back pain. Early extension is next. Now this happens when you come through the ball, through impact, and your hips come forward into the hand space. This causes an array of problems, but in most specifically leading to a massive leak in power, so your distance is going to decrease. Consistency goes completely out the window because now your hips have blocked where your hands want to come. And not to mention, it is the #1 predictor of back pain in golf because of the lead hip not having that hip internal rotation. So oftentimes you'll see this combined with the first one that we talked about, sliding through. And when you see that slide plus the early extend, it's not a matter of if your back is going to hurt, it is only a matter of when. Just like with sliding and swaying, without the proper hip mobility, your body relies on shortcuts just like this early extension to figure out how to somehow get the club to the golf ball and ultimately leading to distance loss and injury. The final swing fault that bad hip mobility is going to drive is poor ground force utilization. Now it's a big fancy word meaning that because your hips don't rotate, you can't push off the ground. So when we talk about coming through impact, we want to be able to post. So think of from the first swing fault, we drew the lines down my hips. If I'm able to stay inside that line and post, you see my lead leg is going to straighten, which is going to drive vertical force up through the chain, eventually out through the club head. And that is the #1 predictor of club head speed when we're talking about ground force utilization. Now, if instead I slide excessively or I early extend too much or any combination of those, I can see a decrease in the amount of ground force that's going to be created because my hip mobility is not allowing me to clear through and drive that vertical up. Now, what this will lead to is an overuse of the upper body, which can cause an array of problems when it comes to ball striking, path, face control, literally everything. So consistency becomes an issue. Along with that, you'll see a distance inconsistency or loss. And then obviously the one thing we don't want, which is pain. Now, there's a couple great exercises that we're going to dive into right now. But before, if that sounds interesting and you have heard about ground forces, you're not really sure what they are, we got this great video here. They're going to put somewhere around my head Click on it, go check it out, and it explains everything. But at this point, let's dive into those next 2 exercises and show you exactly how to fix your hip mobility right now. The first exercise that we want to go after is actually a muscle tissue release known as the gluteus medius, glute med for short. Now you have 3 glute muscles, okay? So we have our big butt muscle is your gluteus maximus, and then to the sides, if you can find kind of where your hip bone is, just behind that and above it, you'll have your glute min and med, so minimus and medius. Now it's tough to discern which one you're on, so we're gonna just go with a general area that you'll see in this exercise. We're gonna put that ball kind of on the side. Now I'd recommend a baseball or a lacrosse ball, something that's firm, a cricket ball, depending where in the world you are, what balls you have in your garage, but grab one of those harder ones. If it's too intense, you can always downgrade to a like a tennis ball or something that has a little give to it. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna get down on the ground, you're gonna lay on your back with your knees bent up, and then you're gonna put that ball kind of on that side, so behind that hip bone, but not in the center of your rear end. You're coming just below the belt line, just behind the hip bone there. And then you're gonna roll to the side to get up on that ball. So you're gonna feel that ball kind of dig into the glute muscles on the side of your hip. Now, if it makes you think of 4-letter words that you've never said before, if it's uncomfortable, when you do this, tissue that is unhealthy and that is restricting your hip mobility will be uncomfortable. It will hurt. It may even, in extreme cases, radiate down your leg into your knee or even into your calf. I want to say it's okay. It shouldn't be like that, but your leg isn't going to fall off. You're not on a nerve. It's just a muscle referral pattern of pain. And what you're going to do now, if you really want to step the level up of the release, you can just hold it there. And if it's really intense, that's what I'd recommend until it kind of alleviates that radiation, maybe comes back to the point of the ball. But if it's feeling okay and you want to get a little bit more out of it, you can actually bend your knee up and down and start dynamically moving the leg so that you're pinning and stripping that tissue under that lacrosse ball or baseball or cricket ball, whatever you're using, to release it. And once you do this, this is one of the key muscles that will actually allow you to internally rotate your hip, which will allow you to rotate better and start to minimize your swaying, your sliding, your early extension, and also improve the usage of your ground reaction forces. All right, so let's get to the second exercise, and it is another muscle release that we're going to work on. It's called the TFL, or the Tensor Fascia Lata. So fancy word for this muscle. So if you remember from the last exercise, we were talking about you have your hip bone on the side and you have your belt buckle. We went just behind your hip bone and below the belt buckle for the gluteus medius. We're going to do just the opposite. We're going to come just in front of that hip bone and staying below the belt line, and this is where the TFL is. So in order to get onto that muscle, you're going to use the same ball, the lacrosse ball, the cricket ball, the baseball. If it's too intense, you can drop down to a tennis ball. I would not recommend a golf ball for either of these. It'll tend to just kind of get sucked into the tissue. It's also just, if you're a glutton for punishment, maybe go after that, but totally not necessary. Now, you're gonna get onto the ground, laying on your side, you're gonna put the ball there, and then you're gonna roll forward onto that ball. And same rules as with the gluteus medius, you're just gonna hold it there if it's radiating a bunch. If you want to get more into it, and get a little bit more out of it, you can bend your foot up so your knee bends, and then you can just rock it side to side, and that'll just pin and strip that TFL over that ball. Now, the reason why this and the gluteus medius together are important is because they do opposite movements. So when you release one, you can release the other, and then now all of a sudden that partnership of those musculatures actually is dually released, and it will optimize as much hip mobility as possible coming back to you immediately. And most importantly, when you have that back pain, particularly on one side, going after these two muscles, so if you have right-sided low back pain, going after these two muscles, a lot of the times will actually alleviate that back pain pretty quickly, if not immediately. So in addition to the pain relief, we also are going to see improvements in your ability to rotate, avoid swaying and sliding, avoid early extending, and obviously improve your ground reaction forces. Now, the reason why all of this is important is because failing the hip tests are the #1 failed test that all golfers have. We have it in our home assessment, which we have a link to it here. You can click it. It's a great test, a way for you to figure out how much on either side, or both sides, which most of you do. In fact, 93% of golfers over the age of 50 will fail this hip test. So it's a great one to take. Once you take it, if you failed it, or if you've identified that you have these swing faults, go ahead, do these 2 exercises, let us know how you do. Like I said, click on the home assessment here, go take it, see how you do, and then implement immediately these exercises to improve your hip mobility, stop swaying, stop early extending, and improve how you're able to use the ground. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here for more videos on how to hit the ball farther and play the game you love without pain.